Yes, this video is 100% serious. SpongeBob SquarePants is one of the most popular cartoons ever created. After its first episode in 1999, the show would go on to have 15 seasons alongside 4 movies with a 5th one on the way. The show's relevance in pop culture over the past 25 years has yet to be topped by any other cartoon. Its presence in both online and in the mainstream cannot be ignored. SpongeBob and Patrick were commentators for Super Bowl 58. There's actually a really good conversation to have about how much SpongeBob has just inserted itself into pop culture. I'm not just talking about shirts at Hot Topic, I'm talking about how much the show is referenced or just makes an appearance in other shows and movies. You know, like King of the Hill, South Park, The Simpsons, The Middle.
We just got 8 free peanuts! You're gonna love our dinner.
Resident Evil. Hell of a boss. I kid you not, the Resident Evil TV series has a reference to SpongeBob.
I fucking love SpongeBob. I mean, his best friend's a starfish.
Are you serious?
SpongeBob is canon in the Resident Evil universe. As of writing, SpongeBob is the longest running kids show of all time, with new episodes still being made after 25 years of being on the air. It is without a doubt the most influential cartoon of all time. Karl Marx is a German philosopher and revolutionary socialist who is best known for his 1848 pamphlet titled The Communist Manifesto. His work would be well known for its critique of capitalism and materialism, and his ideas would soon develop into the political ideology known as Marxism. He is also a fan of SpongeBob, as evident from this very real quote. It says, "Damn, that sponge is funny as hell." This is a real quote, trust me. Now you're probably wondering why I am bringing up a historical figure like him.
Because I like
Order.
Karl Marx is one of many figures that introduced new explanations for social phenomena in regards to economic activities. He is not the only one to help spread leftist ideas on class struggle, but he is one of the most influential. I am not good in the slightest at giving definitions to political ideologies, but I will do my best to explain Marxism for you. Marxism is a political ideology developed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels and is set out with the purpose of analyzing history in the context of class struggle and the evolution of production. The ideology emphasizes... So how does that all relate to SpongeBob? Well, that's what I am set out to accomplish. Today, I'm going to discuss some of the running tropes of SpongeBob and how they connect to themes of anti-capitalism. Look, you don't got anything better to watch. You clicked on this video for a reason. Get a plate of crab ready, because we're going to eat the rich.
We got trouble.
First off, I want to say that SpongeBob is obviously a cartoon at the end of the day, and a lot of the situations that the characters go through are exaggerated for the purpose of comedy. I'm not going to sit here and say that Mr. Krabs selling SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents is a real thing that rich CEOs do to their employees. Yet. But it is important and worthwhile to note the parallels that can be drawn to real life from the show. For example, the police corruption that is present in SpongeBob can very easily be interpreted as a satirical take to the police corruption that is present in our real life. Whether or not the depiction is exaggerated for comedic effect is irrelevant when those parallels can be seen. And what I hope to do is to set out and show a lot of those parallels to real life. I'm going to start off by talking about a pretty obvious plot point that can be tied to the entirety of this discussion, and that being the mere existence of the Krusty Krab. The restaurant is a very frequent location in the series, and is where both Squidward and SpongeBob work. There are many episodes that showcase examples of the owner, Mr. Krabs, exploiting the labor of his 2 only employees. In the Season 2 episode, Graveyard Shift, he finds a financial potential in keeping the Krusty Krab open 24/7. However, because Squidward and SpongeBob are his only 2 employees, this basically means that they are forced to live inside the Krusty Krab, since there is no rotation of employees that are scheduled to work night shifts only. I think everyone already knows at this point that the night shift is the worst thing you can ever be subjected to mentally. I mean, just look at the security guard in Five Nights at Freddy's.
Sorry, Chica! Don't say so! Ow!
So SpongeBob and Squidward being forced to work both night and day shifts means that eventually they're going to die inside the Krusty Krab from the effects of sleep deprivation. It's very apparent just how the whole thing is, especially given how Mr. Krabs just leaves the 2 while he heads home. Just like a real CEO, he doesn't do any actual work and just counts money. I'm not even exaggerating. I don't think I have ever seen Mr. Krabs do any actual work in the show, and instead, he just has love affairs with stacks of money in his office. What's also funny is that this isn't even the only time that he has opened the Krusty Krab for over 24 hours. In Season 4, he keeps the restaurant open 24/7 again.
Day 10 a non-stop service!
Mr. Krabs, can I go home yet?
No one goes home!
And after, like, 4 to 5 weeks of working, SpongeBob begins to suffer from hallucinations and panic attacks while on the job. This doesn't affect Mr. Krabs in the slightest. In fact, he literally starts to drag SpongeBob, who is kicking and screaming, back into the kitchen and force him to keep working. As far as the world of SpongeBob goes, the existence of a union is completely out of the question, and there isn't any labor laws put in place to protect workers from a working environment like this. SpongeBob and Squidward are the only two employees in the entire restaurant. It's implied that they don't have any actual hours or schedules and are just supposed to show up and work from opening to closing every day. In the show, the hours of which the Krusty Krab are open range depending on the circumstances of the episode. Sometimes they work very early shifts, sometimes they work very late shifts, sometimes they work 24/7. But a pretty consistent range of hours is Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. meaning both SpongeBob and Squidward work 55 hours a week, which is an insane amount of hours for a fast food service job. Maybe it was insane in 2001 and it's normal today. I don't know, I haven't had a normal job in forever. This is what my job is. I talk about kids' shows and politics. Maybe I should go to college. Despite working this large amount of hours, Squidward and SpongeBob have basically nothing to show for it. If anything, they are in debt to Mr. Krabs because of the fact that he literally charges them for things like breathing, talking, and existing.
Breathe on your own time. I don't pay you to breathe.
You hardly pay us at all.
They get bills instead of paychecks. There's also a throwaway comment in the episode Big Pink Loser where SpongeBob mentions that when he started working, he had to pay Mr. Krabs $100 a day.
And at $50 an hour, too. When I started working here, I had to pay Mr. Krabs $100 an hour.
So basically, the Krusty Krab is a billionaire's wet dream, in which they can exploit the workers for everything they are worth and face zero consequences from doing so. Wait, they do that in real life. They don't even face consequences either. There was an episode where Squidward tries to unionize with SpongeBob, and SpongeBob joins in because he has no idea what a strike is. But then, when he excitedly tells Mr. Krabs about the union, Mr. Krabs fires his only 2 employees, and then Squidward tries to protest against the Krusty Krab with the help of SpongeBob. But their union constantly gets busted by people trampling Squidward or SpongeBob accidentally promoting the Krusty Krab instead of boycotting it. Eventually, Mr. Krabs caves in and begs for the duo to come back as he can't handle his teenage employees. Squidward thinks he's finally won, but meanwhile, SpongeBob took Squid's message of eat the rich literally by, eating the Krusty Krab. And because of this, they are now basically enslaved by Mr. Krabs in order to pay off the expenses needed to rebuild the entire restaurant. Even though Mr. Krabs has like a ton of money and he can absolutely afford to rebuild the Krusty Krab without the help of SpongeBob and Squidward. Security system takes control of Squidward's house and begins attacking the city. I actually can't tell whether or not this episode is pro-union or not, but it is still really weird seeing a character in a Nickelodeon cartoon give a speech about the gentle laborer and the oppression of big business. Now normally it would make sense for Squidward to quit his job and find somewhere else to work, but there really isn't anywhere else to work. Yeah, there are places like supermarkets and Weenie Hut Jr., but from what I can tell, the Krusty Krab is one of the only available places to work, and I think one of the main reasons for this is because Mr. Krabs is fixated on monopolizing the food service industry. Squidward has quit his job multiple times in the past, and each time he has, it's always ended poorly for him, like he ends up homeless. There are occasions where a competitor would show up or Plankton would finally get some sort of business, and Krabs would instantly try to find any way to sabotage them. But they don't usually need to because most of these new competitors, like the Kelp Shake for instance, self-destruct due to them selling literal slop, something the Krusty Krab would never do. Let's talk about the episode where the Krusty Krab served literal slop. In the Season 4 episode, Selling Out, Mr. Krabs sells his restaurant to a wealthy venture capitalist named Howard Blandy.
Howard Blandy! You mean the Howard Blandy? The Howard Blandy that masterminded the ruthless takeover of every small family-owned business in Bikini Bottom? That Howard Blandy? I worship you!
And after he does so, he retires and allows the restaurant to be completely rebranded as Krabby O Mondays. However, he hates retirement so much that he ends up getting a job at the restaurant again, but this time as an employee and not a boss. There's a lot of instances of Carl abusing his new power, like for instance turning human resources into just a guy who will beat you up if you are not doing a good job. He also removes SpongeBob of his job as a fry cook, and instead replaces the cooking process with a machine that creates synthetic patties off gray slop, which is ironically how most fast food is created.
Is it burnt? Did I drop it in dirt? No. Grow up.
It's funny because this is one of the few episodes where the unethical business practices are not from the fault of Mr. Krabs. I mean, yeah, he did sell the business, but at least he drew the line when he saw that fake food was being created. It's a very low bar to pass, I know. I see a lot of people point to this episode in reference to things like AI art, but I also think this was originally meant to parody the fact that fast food monopolies do indeed make their food off artificial slop. I mean, the Krusty Krab makes their burgers off fish meat, so I don't think they are any better, but still. Also, I really love the wiki page to this episode. In the trivia section, it says, despite mistreating his employees most of the time, Mr. Krabs has shown that he would not bend so low as to make fake food or physically threaten the staff. What the f*** are you talking about? Not only does he physically threaten his staff, he physically assaults them as well.
Reel it in before I keelhaul ya!
Like, you can see this happen in multiple episodes. He sold SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents. I think you can make a whole list of the amount of times that Krabs has physically assaulted or tried to kill his employees. This isn't the last time that the Krusty Krab tries to sell fake patties. Mr. Krab fully invests on frozen patties in a season 9 episode, and Patrick becomes the mascot for it. And so he is forced to work 24/7 with photo shoots, commercials, and branding. However, the frozen Krabby Patties are revealed to just be sand. I don't like sand. It's rough, coarse, and irritating. And it gets everywhere. To be completely honest, there is way too many examples of the Krusty Krab being on the focal point of anti-capitalist messaging, but my favorite example is Nasty Patty, in which Mr. Krabs tries to kill a health inspector because of the possibility of him getting free food. And he just forces SpongeBob to join in on it or else he is fired.
Join me, boy, or you're fired. Look at him joke! Look at him suffer!
And after the health inspector dies, they try to hide his body and avoid being caught by the police, all because Mr. Krabs didn't want the health inspector to get free food because he thought it was a fake health inspector. What the actual fuck? You can make a whole video alone about the amount of crimes that Mr. Krabs has committed, whether it was attempted murder, grave robbing, fraud, mass murder, theft, blackmail, unlawful termination, numerous health violations. I refuse to believe Mr. Krabs pays taxes. He keeps all of his money under his mattress. Like, I am fully convinced that most of that money is dirty. Do you guys think that the Krusty Krab is a front for money laundering?
Hey, Family Guy.
Mr. Krabs did fight in the war. I don't know what war, but he did fight in a war. Do you think he committed some war crimes as well? Did he do that thing in GTA 4 where he sold out all of his friends for $1,000? There, guys, I made a GTA 4 reference. You can stop getting mad at me now.
You can go f*** yourself.
I realize that most of this video is going to be me talking about Mr. Krabs, but f*** it, let's just keep going over some examples. You guys remember that time that Mr. Krabs started a slaughterhouse for jellyfish? In the episode Jellyfish Hunter, Krabs learns that Krabby Patties with jellyfish jelly is a massive hit after SpongeBob shares some jelly with customers. Take some jelly and the fish. Make that sandwich delish. So, seeing the profit potential, he creates a motherfucking jellyfish slaughterhouse in order to abuse and squeeze every ounce of jelly from each jellyfish, and he nearly eradicates the entire jellyfish population until SpongeBob stops him. He comes in with the help of his jellyfish friends and they destroy the slaughterhouse before stinging Mr. Krabs and making him take jelly off the menu. Mr. Krabs almost eradicated an entire species of jellyfish just to slightly increase his profits. Funny enough, this isn't the only episode that showcases SpongeBob being an environmentalist and against corporate entities. There is also SpongeBob's Last Stand, a double-length episode where SpongeBob and Patrick try to stop a highway being built over jellyfish fields. Initially, nobody is on their side, and even Mr. Krabs is in favor of it because of the profit it will bring him. But the only reason why he helps SpongeBob is because the highway would go over the Krusty Krab and into the chum bucket. Again, it all comes down to money for him. SpongeBob and Patrick try to rally citizens to join their cause, but then their peaceful protesting gets stopped as the police arrest them. This is sounding way too familiar. Patrick mentions how his relative was arrested after a freedom march and that he was never heard from again, implying that both SpongeBob and Patrick are about to meet the same fate as a journalist who criticizes the CIA. Oh, come on, that was a good joke, come on. Plankton begins to pave a highway through Jellyfish Fields, and SpongeBob steps in front of his construction, saying that if he is going to pave over Jellyfish Fields, he's gonna have to pave over him first. Now, where have I seen this before? Okay, so I wrote that as a joke, but apparently this is actually meant to be a reference to Tiananmen Square and Tank Man. There is a Tiananmen Square reference in a SpongeBob episode. I think I need to say that again. There is a Tiananmen Square massacre reference in SpongeBob. This plan obviously fails, and the highway is completed. The Krusty Krab is closed, and Bikini Bottom becomes a polluted hellscape. However, the jellyfish fight back and the city falls under total anarchy, with buildings burning and citizens being attacked. What the f*** is this show? Guys, this is just like Fallout New Vegas. SpongeBob calls for the city to help give Jellyfish Fields back to the jellyfish and restore their habitat. So the citizens help in destroying the superhighway and bring back balance. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of the best ways to make kids understand why the environment is important to protect. It's funny because this episode is one of many examples of corruption in Bikini Bottom, law enforcement being a pretty big one. They arrested SpongeBob and Patrick for protesting and then dumped them in the middle of nowhere. The police department in Bikini Bottom being corrupt is a pretty big running joke in the community, but it is pretty astounding just how corrupt they are. They rarely respond to real emergencies or crimes and instead throw people in jail for stuff like not inviting them to your birthday party. You could like do a triple murder in Bikini Bottom and they'll look away, but God forbid you litter or else they'll give you the lethal injection. I'm not even kidding, the police just show up out of nowhere sometimes to just arrest people for little to no reason. It is played for a joke most of the time, but it is worth pointing out that this isn't that dissimilar from cops in real life. Whether or not you believe that all cops are bastards or not is irrelevant, there is no denying that police corruption is a very real thing, and a lot of the time, the portrayal of the police in SpongeBob is not that exaggerated given how accurate it can be to real life. Most of the time, police are there to fill a quota and control the middle class, not to serve and protect. And I think it's funny that a lot of the portrayal of police in SpongeBob went from, man, that's so exaggerated, that's funny, to, yeah, they do be like that. Honestly, the entirety of Bikini Bottom just feels like a police state to begin with. It's very possible that a lot of the regulations put in place by the government are to purposely control and restrict the working class, hence why people are constantly arrested for ridiculous reasons. The whole law and justice system at Bikini Bottom is f***ed up, and it makes you question what kind of society that this city runs on. It does genuinely feel like the whole world of SpongeBob is a dystopian nightmare played for laughs. Like, I want you to imagine having to live in the world like this, where you can barely afford to get by financially, your boss exploits your labor for their own profit, you aren't able to protest injustice without retaliation from law enforcement, and you can't make enough money to retire one day. You don't have to imagine it, I just described living in America. SpongeBob is one of those shows that you look differently at the older you get. I know I just did that Facebook meme of, man, the older I get, the more I relate to Squidward, but just bear with me, okay? I have a soft spot for the series and the way that it shaped me and my sense of humor. Well, it was that and SpongeBob YouTube poops, but it still counts. This video isn't meant to be like a film theory type shit of, whoa guys, this is the true message of SpongeBob. I just wanted to analyze the show from a different perspective, and I think doing so made me appreciate it even more. I know that this is a kid's show, and that I'm looking way too deep into all of it, but that's kind of the point.
You gonna send me to a nut house? Some doctor they're gonna get me to stop from doing what I want to do? Well, that ain't happening!
If you aren't willing to challenge yourself and find new perspectives of which you can view media, then media analysis would be really boring. So join me next time, I'm gonna be analyzing the Marxist messaging of Bluey. You should always try and challenge yourself when it comes to writing and creating video essays. I think it's a good way of improving yourself as a creator, but that's just me. Also, I want to apologize. The quote earlier about Karl Marx saying that he liked SpongeBob, yeah, that's not real. He was actually talking about Big Time Rush. I mean, if you think about it, Big Time Rush is just a whole show that's an allegory for the reality of living in the music industry and how capitalism forces musicians to work 24/7 and put on a good face for everybody and their producers. Looking for a boyfriend, I see that. Give me time, you know I'm gonna be there. Alright, how should I end this video? How about if I promote my own capitalism? Listen up, everybody. I got a merch store. That's right. I got merch. We're selling t-shirts, beanies, stickers, hoodies. We don't have hoodies. We're selling t-shirts. I'm actually really happy with how all of these turned out. They're super high quality and I love how they feel. They're super comfortable, so I definitely recommend getting one of these. I'm definitely going to be putting out more merch in the future, but this is just going to be the summer collection moving forward. So if you want to see what else I got in store, then please subscribe, please support my Patreon, please help me to keep doing all these things that will eventually lead to me making more stuff like this, because I want to put out more merch and I want to put out more things that you guys can wear. Bees, please get some. Wear them to your school. I promise you won't get bullied. You can get all of this at limusshop.fourthwall.com. That's limusshop.fourthwall.com. Go buy them now. Now! Buy them! There are bugs under your skin. There are bugs under your skin. Dig them out. Dig them out right now. Dig them out. There are bugs under your skin. Dig them out! Thank you to the people who support me on my Patreon. People like Pandacade, Ellender, and Gabe Neal. Your support means the world to me and it helps me to keep making the videos that I want to make. Thank you all so much.
Oh yes to me, close your eyes and you'll leave this dream.